With caps on tuition and declining government funding, public colleges and universities around the world are becoming more and more entrepreneurial and seeking out new sources of revenue. Many are looking to turn their real estate assets into income streams, forming land trusts, selling land to developers, building research parks, or leasing land for retail or residential use. Despite being located in the geographic center of Metro Vancouver, Fraser University was built on the peak of Burnaby Mountain, isolated in the midst of a conservation area. To grow closer to its community, it had to build its own community, which it's calling UniverCity.
UniverCity serves a number of functions. It brings life to the university, it brings revenue to the university, it provides housing for people not only from the university but from the broader community, it models sustainability, and it's an important part of our commitment to be an engaged university.
This week we visit our college town like no other, Simon Fraser's UniverCity, to learn more about how an institution can literally move mountains to build a community from scratch. I'm Ken Steele. Welcome to another 10 with Ken. Last year we visited Simon Fraser University in 2 episodes that looked at its community engagement strategy and the way its physical campuses in Vancouver, Surrey, and Burnaby serve that mission. This week, let's return to the UniverCity development to learn more, talking with Gordon Harris, a world-renowned urban planner and the president and CEO of SFU Community Trust.
As you know, Simon Fraser University was a new university in 1965, and at the time it was built on land that had been put together by the province and the city of Burnaby.
Here on the mountain, you had a campus that was built in glorious isolation, originally, presumably, to get people as far away from community as was possible at the time.
There was also, in the original plans by Arthur Erickson and Jeff Massey, the notion there would be a residential community up here on Burnaby Mountain. Now that wasn't realized for the first 30 years of the university's history. And I would argue that's a good thing, because by the time the idea of building UniverCity came along, it was post-Brundtland Commission. People were thinking seriously about how do we do a better job of building community, more compact communities, walkable communities.
In 1995, SFU and the city of Burnaby began developing a new community plan.
So my predecessors had the brilliant idea of taking what was a land grant over much of the mountain and could have resulted in a sprawl of development, and saying to the municipality, allow us to transfer the density from that land grant onto a much smaller parcel on top of the mountain so we can build a higher density community. And at the same time, that will allow us to protect and create a natural preserve which now surrounds this mountain.
UniverCity brought urban density to a suburban development.
So we're about 65 acres. We're going to have between 9,000 and 9,500 people, and the last of those residents will move in probably in the next 4 years.
It's certainly not hard to sell condos in a mountain forest setting, with gorgeous 360-degree vistas of Burrard Inlet and the North Shore Mountains, just a 30-minute drive from downtown Vancouver. But with improved public transit and a new U-Pass for SFU students, UniverCity could be built with even less impact on its natural mountain environment.
Much of our community is built on former student parking lots. And so it's a wonderful reuse, essentially a brownfield redevelopment.
Perhaps the primary impetus for creating this new community adjacent to campus was to provide affordable housing.
Like other universities in Western Canada and the Lower Mainland, SFU is having trouble attracting faculty and staff because it costs so much to move here from another city. 40% of our residents have some direct relationship to the university, as faculty members or as students or staff.
But SFU also wanted to ensure that the housing stayed affordable. Verdant is a neighborhood of 60 townhomes with an exciting financial model.
So we discounted the land when we leased it to Vancity for 99 years. They in turn agreed to sell at 20% below market. And the people who live there are benefiting from that initial decision to provide below market cost housing. When they sell, we get an appraisal done and they sell for 80% of the appraised value. And so that 20% discount is passed on in perpetuity.
Over time, though, it became clear that UniverCity had to offer more than just high-density apartments.
We've now had people living here for 15 years. 40% of our households have young children living at home. People in the community said, we need more space, we want storage space, we want 3 bedrooms, but we don't want to leave UniverCity. So for instance, just behind us here are stacked townhomes,
The challenge and the opportunity of the UniverCity development was that people living and working atop Burnaby Mountain needed more than just housing.
If you think of other universities, say in a downtown setting in a city, they're surrounded by normal urban human activity. We've worked to bring that here. So we have a grocery store, pharmacy, deli, post office. We have Starbucks, we have Tim Hortons about to open. We've just concluded a deal for a 17,000 square foot medical center. Every home in this community is within a 5 to 7 minute walk of the school, the Childcare Center, the high street, and transit. And when you do that, suddenly the community kind of snaps together and becomes a real community. All of a sudden, the community had a heart.
UniverCity is designed not just to be a complete community, but to complement the campus amenities next door. All residents have access to SFU's fitness facilities, aquatic center, art gallery, library, and bookstore. But in return, the 20,000 people on campus can also access 24 shops and services in UniverCity.
So they come over here for lunch, they come over here for coffee, they stop and get groceries on the way home.
I can now just walk down the street and go to restaurants, go to a bank, go to a grocery store, none of which were there when this university was originally built.
The synergy between campus and community is a real win-win. UniverCity also has some of the most ambitious building standards in the world and has won more than 30 national and international environmental awards.
We introduced at the City of Burnaby North America's first comprehensive green zoning bylaw. What we said was, you don't need to subscribe to a LEED standard or any other established standard. What you need to do is be 30% more energy efficient and 40% more water efficient than a typical code building. And if you can do that and exceed it by 50%, we'll give you additional density.
UniverCity has an award-winning stormwater management system, and many buildings have rainwater collection systems, solar arrays, and geothermal heat. The new district energy system will eventually provide heat and hot water to 24 buildings in UniverCity and on the SFU campus, using biomass and waste lumber to power the boiler. The development also leverages the expertise of Simon Fraser University researchers and students.
We're very engaged with the Resource and Environmental Management program that is part of the Environment faculty. We are quite involved with the Urban Studies program as well.
The University Highlands Elementary School opened in 2010. It's a short, safe walk for children living in UniverCity. But clearly the $3 million preschool Childcare Center, which opened in 2012, is one of UniverCity's crown jewels.
There's a childcare facility which has already been labeled the greenest childcare in the planet.
Maybe one of the best examples of that is the Childcare Center behind us.
It's one of the first few buildings in Canada to meet the Living Building Challenge.
A building that generates more energy than it uses, harvests more water than it uses. Vast majority of materials come from within 500 kilometers of here.
The flooring is made from recycled tires. The rooftop solar thermal array generates heat and hot water. Mechanical vents and window shades conserve energy in the summer.
And all of that's great and interesting and good for us. To me, the real story is we built it for 18% below the cost of a typical code childcare building in this region. That's the green building premium turned into a dividend.
UniverCity's environmental innovations aren't purely technical. They've also developed standalone green mortgages to amortize the cost of sustainability upgrades separately from the purchase price of properties. The community is seeking to model not just environmental, but economic sustainability.
I have been a planning consultant for 30 years, giving advice to developers and others. If it isn't economic, it isn't sustainable. Our developers are demonstrating you can build highly efficient buildings and make a profit. We're demonstrating you can build community facilities and save money, all while setting a whole new standard in this region and in this country for sustainable community development.
UniverCity has provided about $15 million in infrastructure to the university, from a new town square for events and farmers markets to a new heating facility and underground pipelines. But obviously, real estate development holds the potential to generate significant revenue.
The cash contribution to an endowment from our development will be somewhere in the neighborhood of $90 million when we're done. Our purpose is to create money that will support teaching and research at Simon Fraser for the rest of time. And this is how we're doing it, and we're pretty proud of the way it's coming together.
UniverCity is a thriving community for students, faculty, staff, and their young families. But it may also become home to older generations as well.
Our thought is that to be a complete community, we need to be a community of all ages. We're hoping that we can build an active seniors facility within the community.
Certainly seems like it'd be a beautiful place to retire.
No question. No question.
Well, thanks so much, Gordon. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
your
much.
time today.
Thank you. Thanks.
So Simon Fraser's UniverCity development is creating affordable housing for 10,000 people, adding shops and services for the campus community, building a sizable endowment for the institution, and all the while exploring new frontiers in environmental and economic sustainability. It's an innovation I sincerely hope inspires many other institutions. Every week 10 with Ken brings you examples of higher ed innovation and bright ideas from across Canada and around the world. Join me next time as I visit LaSalle College, Vancouver, a small private institution that's leveraging a global network of campuses to deliver state-of-the-art online learning. To be sure you don't miss it, take a moment now to subscribe. And thanks for watching. Simon Fraser's UniverCity. To learn how university and at the way its physical campuses in Burnaby, Vancouver, Surrey, and Burnaby, but with improved. There we go.